Hello, welcome to the W, and thank you for joining us. The first time I watched Kim I Am, I was compelled by Kim's story. Not only was she a part of the Black Eyed Peas at a pivotal point in their career, but she had the courage to stand up for who she was and against who she wasn't. I'm joined today by the filmmaker of Kim I Am, Ben Proudfoot. Ben, thank you so much for being with us on the W.
I am very pleased to be here.
I am so impressed by your company, Breakwater Films. For me, as a Black woman and a screenwriter who has been in my industry for over 20 years and had different ups and downs, and just recently had a film that, garnered some success, but I've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating for me to look at Kim Hill's story in Kim I Am. So tell me, obviously, you're not a Black woman.
I'm not. Certainly not.
Where did you find your connecting point with Kim Hill? How did you come about this particular story?
At first, I was not into the story. I was sort of ignorant to the whole phenomenon of the Black Eyed Peas. I just kind of a nerd. Didn't listen to that kind of music. I'm from Nova Scotia. I don't know. I didn't know exactly how huge of a phenomenon Black Eyed Peas was. And Abby Davis, our executive producer, she urged me. She said, "No, she had spoken to Kim on the phone, and she said, this is a really good story." Yeah. So I jumped on the phone with Kim, and immediately was wowed by her, and wowed by just the nuts and bolts of the story. How this is not a gossip story. This is a story about the music industry. This is a story about being true to your voice, your integrity. This is a story about money and class, right? So you're right. I'm not very clearly not a Black woman, but I could relate on all of those other points.
Recently, and I teach screenwriting at Biola University, and I was having a conversation with some of my students, or there was a conversation amongst some of my students, and there was one point of view that someone who is not a person of color should not try to tell stories of African Americans or Black people, Asian, Latinx. And then there was another philosophy that no, it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, you can tell other stories. So what is your take on that?
I think the question is about authorship. When you're a screenwriter or when you're directing a narrative film, you are literally putting words in someone's mouth. You're telling people, how they feel in a certain situation, how they would act. I think that's sort of a bird of a different color from a documentary where you're really kind of trying to elicit what they think, right? Now, at the same time, anybody who's made documentaries knows that you make a lot of important decisions, especially in the edit, right? You really shape the story. We're going to leave out this. We're going to use this. That's where, as a company, we've paid close attention to, well, who's in the room, right? Who's actually making the decisions of whether or not we put this part in the movie or not?
In your films, I've noticed at the end, there is a decision that the person made to basically step away from trying to be famous, from trying to be at the top or the most successful person in their field in order to embrace contentment, peace, family. So would you say that that's an important theme to you? Where do you sit on that?
Well, I think it's something I'm trying to work through in my films. I think it's something that a lot of people think about. What am I going to have to give up in order to achieve my dream? What is success? And I think that's really interesting to me because I am extremely ambitious, and I have studied a lot of really successful people, and I see sacrifices that they have made or they've had to make or they've chosen to make. And I see a lot of people around me, people that I love, who are extremely happy, but you wouldn't classify them as extraordinarily successful. I don't know if we've actually done the due diligence to figure out what that really means and how much of a hold the search for career success and the search for being recognized by our peers holds over us. What kind of sacrifices are we willing to make to belong to this group that we've chosen? Yeah. And so I think one of the great abilities of film is to make you stop and think and look at Kim's story and say, you know, what's the version of that in my life?
Several of your films that I've seen feature people whose faith is important to them. There's this idea, well, at Windwriter, one of the important things that we do is we look at the intersection between faith and film. And so people believe that the viewer can go into a movie and potentially have a spiritual experience watching a film. What would you say to that?
Experiencing a film is the same thing as experiencing something happening in your life, right? You're going through an emotional process. You are attaching yourself to different characters. You are coming to understandings. You are faced with forks in the road. You are forced to ask yourself important questions. I think that's the highest calling of cinema or almost any art, is to deliver a spiritual experience. And of course, you know, our connection to each other is you know, that I could make a film over here, upload it onto YouTube, and then somebody watches it anywhere in the world at any time in the future and has a spiritual experience because the thing that I sent out, that thing I cast into the world, is somehow being interpreted, and we are connected in some kind of spiritual internet. I mean, that's what keeps me coming back. I mean, that is such an exciting proposition to be a part of that connection. And whether you're a person of faith or whether, you know, spiritual might mean something different to you. You know, I'm not a person of faith, but I'm deeply interested in connecting with people. I'm deeply interested in examining the big questions of life. I'm deeply interested in the things that make us similar, more so than the things that make us different.
In Kim I Am, toward the end of the film, she feels content. She feels like she made the right decision. She didn't compromise her morals, her integrity, her artistry, and she has her happy. What would you say is your happy?
It's a good question. You're putting me on. You see, I'm usually on the other side of this. I get great pleasure out of seeing other people at their best. And I get great pleasure out of creating a pleasureful experience for other people. And so filmmaking is so my happy, because that's what it is to be a director. You get to empower and resource and inspire and build up all these different collaborators to do their best work, to contribute their best work to this thing. And then in doing it, you are giving this gift, and often in the short documentary, you're giving that gift for free on YouTube or whatever, to an unsuspecting person somewhere who's starting their Saturday morning and who clicks on this interesting Black Eyed Peas video, and they're taken through this whole emotional journey, and they make a comment on, you know, the YouTube page of how much it meant to them or how highly they think of Kim. It completes the circle for me. In a way that, you know, having the honorific of being, you know, winning an award or having some big streamer pay me $1 million to do something, it actually scratches the deepest itch that I have, which is to contribute something, which is to leave behind something that wasn't there before, and give other people something positive, a positive experience in what is otherwise can be a very difficult life here on Earth.
I can't wait to see what's coming next from Breakwater, and thank you so much, Ben, for being with us on The W.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you.